Thank you for tuning in to the Nola Ro Experience Podcast. Raw, honest, relatable conversations that help us grow. Be sure to follow us on all social platforms at the Nola Ro Experience Podcast and watch and listen to your favorite TNREP episodes on your favorite podcast platform.
On today's episode, I am here with my special guest from the Netflix documentary Trial 4, Sean K. Ellis. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for asking. So, your story is a tremendous story that reflects a huge issue in the American justice system. Do you want to give a brief synopsis of what the documentary was about, and then we can just veer off into getting to know you better?
So the docu-series typically covered from the time when I was 19 years old. I was wrongfully arrested. I was found guilty by the time I was 21 and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, which meant that I was sentenced to die in prison. And I had my case overturned in 2015 is when I was released. The docu-series covers the corruption and all of the work, the underhanded work of the police department and the Suffolk County District Attorney's Department at the time, which led to my conviction.
So, 22 years.
Yes.
22 years, I can't fathom what 22 years. It sounds, that's the age of an adult.
Exactly.
So many people were born, so many things happened, the world changed. Obviously, that's an injustice. And here you are today, sitting, breathing, telling your story, advocating. But behind all of that is a person.
Exactly.
A human.
A human
being. Man.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into all of that today. I am also going to be giving you guys a huge fact about this topic. We're also going to ask the audience to send in an answer to a question. I'm going to ask you if you know about this topic, the SOA Q&A, and of course, today's happy habit. If you tuned into episode 74, you heard my story about starting a business and my first brick and mortar and the trials and tribulations that I went through with family and the depression and the darkness and the craziness. So I know what it's like when life tries you. And I think everybody has been on trial at some point in time, whether it's your job or relationship or just being misunderstood. Imagine your trials in an extreme version of it. That's because I'm not about to even sit here and try to compare my issues with what you've had to go through. But we can, of course, relate to having to suffer in life, but there are obviously people in this world who suffer even more. And today we want to delve into the feelings behind that, the man behind that. What I'm curious about, I did watch the documentary on Netflix, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like I heard you say, when I was first arrested, I didn't think I was going to be in here long. I thought this was going to be over quickly because I'm innocent. And I feel like that might be the mindset of a lot of people. Like, I didn't do this. This is going to be taken care of really quickly. But it turned into 22 years.
Yes. So it's like just a little backdrop about myself. Like, I was raised by a single woman. I knew who my dad was, but he wasn't necessarily in the household. But I could pick up the phone and call him. I had a relationship with him. Nevertheless, I was raised by a single woman. By the time I was 8 years old, my older brother died. He had drowned. He was 12 at the time. And My educational background is where I'm from in Boston. There was this program called the MECO program, which bused inner city youth to the suburbs. My mom's desire was in hopes of her children getting a better education, right? So like, and we lived in the projects. We lived in the Austria projects in the Rosendale section of Boston. So like that's a little bit about like me and like how I came up. My mom was huge on education, and she was involved herself in advocacy when it came to the conditions of the housing projects. Like she advocated to make sure that the lights was on, that the water was hot, that the building doors locked.
Basic necessities,
right? But she raised her children to respect the law, to know the law, right? I was recently speaking about my middle school experience, and one experience I had in middle school is they had this Volkswagen Rabbit, right? This buggy, and on the buggy was like a smiley face, but the car itself was a police car, right? So I was brought up to like trust the law. I was brought up to believe in the law. I was brought up to like believe that the system worked. Right. So
you were vulnerable.
Exactly. Yeah. So when it came to like me being arrested and thinking that it was going to be over quickly, and it wasn't over quickly, like I was in for a rude awakening, but I never thought that I would be wrongfully arrested. And I never in a million years thought that I'd be wrongfully convicted for a crime I didn't commit and spent nearly 22 years in prison.
So obviously that's a lot of years. Between the time when you thought, I'm innocent, this is not going anywhere, at what point did you lose that? At what point did you, or even let go of it?
So, I can't say I ever let go of that, but I would say it was a process. Meaning like, so this is the process, right? I never thought that I'd be wrongfully arrested.
Right.
But I was wrongfully arrested.
Right.
Like, understand that. I'm saying I was a young person. Then I was put on trial. And in my naivety, I thought that I would never be wrongfully convicted. Right? And so I was put on trial, not one time.
Not two times.
Not two times, but three times. Right? So my first time I was put on trial, the jury, I believe I remember correctly, was 9-3, not guilty. Right? So it kind of reinforced like, all right, well, maybe the system worked. And then the second jury, I think, was the complete opposite. It might have been like 3-9. 9 people voted me guilty and 3 not. Right? So I'm like, what's going on here? Yeah. My first trial, the jury deliberated for 8 days. My second trial, the jury deliberated for 5 days. My third trial, the jury deliberated for between 3 and 5 hours. Right? And it resulted in my wrongful conviction, but never in a million years that I thought that I would have been wrongfully convicted. So
you continuously held on to that hope?
Yeah.
Because you knew.
And so like dealing with the hope and like holding on to it, like it was a process. And that process was like, I never thought those sorts of things, but those things happened. And somehow I still believe that, well, at least on my appeal, when I appealed to the state's highest court will correct it and get it right, right? And when the state's highest court didn't get it right, that's when I really understood, like, that's when it really settled in, like no, this injustice is happening and it's really real, and it's going to cost me the remainder of my natural life if I don't wake up. Right. And when I say wake up, I mean like wake all the way up. Yeah. Because when I first got convicted and my first call home to my mother, right, my mother told me, and you got to understand like the type of parent that I had. She was a disciplinarian and she was huge, 100,000% on education. I had the type of mother that she would sit down at the kitchen table with me to make sure that I got my homework done and done correctly. And when I called home, she said, baby, I don't have those books here with me. If I did, I would do what I had to do to get you home. She said, but you have them books there with you. And I need you to get into them books and to get yourself home. And like she basically gave me my assignment, like at that time. But it's like just the holding on to the hope. Like I would say when my hope tank became low, right, it kind of transformed into like my fighting spirit and my advocacy, because I realized that the system wasn't going to give me justice. I had to fight for the justice from the system, right?
Yeah.
And you know, by the time I realized that, I was sitting in a maximum security prison in Massachusetts, really like looking at the remainder of my natural life, like what the hell just happened to me?
Wow. It sounds like a progression of things happen, because I heard you say being naive is what kept me thinking that this is going to work in my favor. But I do feel like being naive in those moments is probably what gave you the hope that you needed to stay focused on being well. But then it wasn't the right time for you to have that fighting spirit. I think we all have to be in the correct circumstances to accumulate that fighting spirit. I don't think we just wake up with it.
Well, I mean, it depends on which lens we look at it through, right? It's like I'm a black man, obviously, right? And so when I think about my experience, I have a black male experience. And like my household, like I was raised and brought up like a certain way. And I believe that when we go through certain things, there was a book that I read. It was Soledad Brothers by George Jackson. And George Jackson said that at our lowest point, that's when we're really introduced to our true self, right? And so like at that point when I realized that, no, I wasn't going to get justice from this criminal legal system, right? That I would have to fight for it.
Yeah.
That's what it was for me. And then that's when I started to like educate myself and just take my situation like into my own hands.
Absolutely.
There's many anniversaries that I have, whether it's the anniversary of me being bailed out from prison, because I, like, when my case was overturned, I was put on $50,000 bail. And for my family, that might as well been the equivalent of 100,000 or 1,000,000, right? Because my family just didn't have that money. I have the anniversary of the first two charges, the murder charge and the armed robbery charge, and my case being dismissed. And there's many other anniversaries,
and these dates are in your head.
There's a lot of them. And I would say too many dates at this point to remember. There was the date of my arrest. There was the date of the conviction. There was the date that I came home. There was the date that the first two charges were dismissed. There was the date that the last charge was just like, and then there's other dates in the midst of all those dates that I just named. They're in my head, right? But I just saying that my wife asked me one time, like, how did I feel? And I told my wife that I felt wounded but not broken, right? But that is the spirit of like the fight, you know, the accumulation of it that I've been through, right? Where it's like, yeah, I was beat down like bad, right? But I refuse to allow my spirit to be broken, and so it's. And unfortunately, we don't all reach that moment.
Absolutely.
Where it's we tap into that spirit, but yeah.
This sounds like it had to have taken a toll on your mental health. Yes. What was the state of your mental health while incarcerated, day to day? I sometimes I have work to do, and I'm like, oh my gosh, 5 hours. Yeah.
So, mental health for me when I was incarcerated, you know, I lost a lot of people when I was in there.
People dying?
People dying. Like, my dad died when I was in prison.
Sorry to hear that.
I had very close friends that I grew up with die while I was in prison. I had close aunts that lived in the same house with me and helped raise me die when I was in prison. And I just had to deal with it. And when I mean I just had to deal with it, like, did I have access to mental health therapists in prison? Yes. Who hired them and who did they work for? They was hired by and worked for the Department of Correction, right? And so when
the same people insisting on keeping you there.
Correct. And
right.
so when I think about the people who are tasked with the responsibility of looking over me on a day-to-day
right.
and making sure that I ate, right? But the food that I ate was of low quality, right? When it came time to that sort of stuff, and the people I had to ask for toilet paper, and sometimes be told, well, we don't have none. It's like, how do you not have toilet paper for me and I'm in your custody?
There's so many things happening here. I'm hearing a lot of trust issues.
Yeah, so, and we're talking about the mental health piece, right? And so when it comes to mental health and understanding that it's this department that's hiring the people who are supposed to be in charge of helping me with my mental health while I'm dealing with this and going through this. How can I trust you? You brought up trust. Like, how can I trust the people that? So I didn't really engage in that mental health process while I was incarcerated.
I completely understand that.
There was programs that the prisoners, like self-help program that the prisoners, through their own intelligence and their own mind, kind of created and got permission from the administration so that we can kind of have our own little space to kind of unpack some of the stuff. But in terms of the traditional or the conventional kind of mental health, that didn't happen until after I came home.
So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but trusting it's needed for mental health. You have to be able to trust, like simply walking out your door. There's trust inside of that because you're trusting that you're going to be okay. There are people who do not leave their homes because they don't trust that they're going to be okay outside. So trust doesn't seem like a big deal because we throw it around all the time. But spending so much time in a place where your trust is... Speaking of spending time in a place like that, I have someone near and dear to me who was incarcerated. And I remember going to see him, and there were days when he would step out and I'm like, he lost so much weight. Or another time I went and he had a cut on his face. Or another time I went and I could see that he was injured the way he was walking. I was like, what is happening in here? It wasn't just him having these experiences. It was also me, our family, just mourning and grieving what was happening to him. Even though we didn't even know what was happening, he would not tell us anything. I'm fine. I'm good. What was it like for your people? So for me, I recently had a conversation with my youngest sister, who our relationship, we've had the ups and downs since I've been home. And when you ask me what was it like for my people, that isn't necessarily something that since I've been home, we've unpacked. We haven't unpacked what my experience was, right? And we haven't unpacked what my family's experience was. Like the work that I do now as part of the Exoneration Network, which is a program that I helped to co-found. We help families to do that, right? But we ourselves didn't go through that. But what I do know is that, the things that I experienced when I was in there, I did my best to protect my family from it. So any hurt, any pain, any danger, any threat. Keep it to yourself.
I didn't call home and say, yeah, Mom, this is the threat. This is the danger. I did my best at, deal with what I had to deal with while, putting, the best face forward to my family to try to bring them comfort. Even though I was going through hell. Yeah,
I think we don't know. People who have never been arrested. Did you want to say something?
Yeah. Something that my family did share with me, though, and it wasn't just one thing, but there was a couple of big things, right, about what my family went through when it came time to visits, right? There was because they had to come through a metal detector, right? And there was the underwire bras, right? So like my mom and my sisters and my cousins, the woman that came to visit me, right? They would often be harassed, right, if they went through the metal detector and the underwire bra, which is something that people wear. That it's just common, normal stuff that people wear, right? That you would assume that, okay, we would bake this into our policy, right? But they would be harassed about that. There was
I know exactly what you're talking about.
During the incarceration, During the incarceration, at one point, my mom was diagnosed with colon cancer. Wow. And not only was she diagnosed, but there was a term put on her life. And so she was going through the chemo treatment, radiation, that sort of treatment to try to get well. And fortunately, for the great grace of God, like my mom's still here to this day. But she suffered some hair loss from her treatment.
Okay.
And so she would wear a wig, right? She had a letter from her doctor and all, but she had to deal with harassment about taking the wig off.
The wigs had metal in them.
And so it's like that sort of stuff. And then now when you speak about my feelings, my emotional constitution and my mental health as my mother's male child, who is charged with, I was raised as the man in my house. My mother told me that as a young man because I was raised in a single woman household. She said, and my brother died when he was 12. She said, you're the man in the house, right? And then as a man, you're a provider, you're a protector and all these things, right? And I can't protect my mom from that sort of humiliation. Like how did that sit and land on me? Yeah. So.
Did you ever have a moment where you thought, you know what, don't come see me?
Yeah,
because I was told that too.
I told my mom, don't come see me and don't send me no money.
I had that experience too with my person being incarcerated and pretty much saying, don't come anymore. It's people who have never, what I was going to say before, never been arrested, never been incarcerated, never been impacted by the justice system. I don't think they can fathom all the little nuanced moments that impact you in such a big way. Even the story about your mom being ill. And I've definitely gone through a situation where at that time I was a manager at a bar and counting a lot of money at the end of the night. And after closing up the bar, I would go get ready, hop on the bus and go see my family member. And I get there and a dog jumps on me. They do this random dog sniffing thing. The dog jumps on me. I am deathly afraid of dogs. The dog is all in my face. And they pulled me off of the line, took me into a room, and they said that I tested positive for cocaine. I don't use drugs of any sort, but I suspect it's the counting of the money. That's what I thought. Maybe counting all that money, somebody's cash probably had something on it. But the things that you have to go through in that room. So who are you here to see? Is that your man? Yeah, you single? And having the feeling of, is something about to happen in this room with these men? And I also felt like this was Rikers Island. I don't know if you're familiar with Rikers Island, but obviously it's an island. You have to go from the mainland to the island, and we did that by bus. And I remember every time I took that bus, I thought, this bus ride alone could be a story. Because of the amount of things I witnessed on the bus alone. The little babies, like in the middle of winter, and it's a male prison, and I just still thought it was funny peculiar that all of the passengers, all of the visitors were women. I don't know. That stuck out to me, like, our fathers not visiting their sons, our brothers not visiting their brothers. It's all women on this bus and experiencing things that made me feel like this could very well be a book or a story to tell.
So there's so much in that. Just that demographic, right? Because at a certain point, we have to understand, right, as a society and as a people, at a certain point, the prey was young black men, right? And that's what drove up mass incarceration. It's been maybe based on what I'm hearing, within the last 10 to 15 years, right, that the target has become women, young black women, right? But at that time, that's who they were incarcerating. So who was going up to visit was the moms and the baby's moms, the girlfriends, and like that was that. But we have to understand now that it's being realized that if you incarcerate the woman, right, then you start to reduce the production of the people, right? Like the woman, give birth and
the women are the creators.
They're the creators of life.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you remove them out of it, right, then there's a greater impact, which is why we gotta wake up and just start getting ourselves up out of that system, out of that mindset, so that we can begin to point to ourselves and survive more and be more productive as people. They get so much money. They get so much money.
Absolutely.
Because they target our melanin.
Yeah.
They get so much money because of that. You know what I mean? Peace.
I've never heard this perspective about women being targeted in that way. I think we definitely have focused on men being taken out of the home.
Mm-hmm. Which has historical connotations,
right,
going through policies and law. Mm-hmm.
And to come to this point where we're now waking up and aware that we're not just targeting listen, the amount of things as a woman that we go through. Mm-hmm. I have a podcast episode about that, where people are asking me to always look beautiful and always look young, and to even bring in the conversation about now you're being targeted as a source of life. Mm-hmm. And this is how we ultimately weaken your people. Mm-hmm. That's a whole other conversation.
A whole other conversation. But I'll tell you, where in Massachusetts, they're working on trying to build a whole new women's prison in Massachusetts. But in Massachusetts, you're saying that the prison population numbers are coming down. So why are we thinking about investing into a whole new women's prison?
Make it make sense.
Like, who are we targeting there, right? And historically, right, since the 13th Amendment and the the slave catchers and that whole narrative evolving into the evolution of police departments and who they target and how laws are made and who the laws target. Mm-hmm. Like, one of the most well-known laws is the crack cocaine disparity law, and who that targeted, right? That isn't because I'm saying it. It's what history has said.
We saw it.
It's factual, right? When you say coke, like drugs coming into the country, right? Like, it's these are facts now.
Yeah.
So we have to wake up to this stuff and then act accordingly to it.
Yeah, and I think having these conversations, I know that it's really useful for us to put the stats out there and tell people this is what's happening in the world. But a lot of times when we look at the numbers, we don't really feel the people. Yeah,
well, I mean, feel me is like when we say, I think it's 1 in 7 every black men are wrongfully convicted for crimes they didn't commit. So I'm the 7th. So if you count on your finger, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you have Sean Ellis.
And what happened to the 3?
Right. And then you count 7, 8, 9, 10, you get to 14, then you have a Joseph Bennett, who's another exoneree from Massachusetts. And then I can start to name more and more and more, right? Our most recent one that just came home after 28 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit is Ricky McGee, right? And he was the man that sat on a gym floor when I found out that my mother was diagnosed with colon cancer, he sat on the gym floor with me, and we had a whole discussion about the ecosystem and trying to make sense of, what I was told what was going to be the inevitable death of my mother in life. Wow. And just trying to get some understanding and comfort through studying the ecosystem. But he himself just came home. And my point is there's so many people who are in prison for crimes they didn't commit. And then we look at it as though I'm an anomaly, or as though wrongful convictions don't happen, when they factually do.
Well, speaking of history and connecting these things back in time, this is just another version of a white woman saying, he looked at me, or he touched me.
You talking about Emmett Till or the whistle?
Or he raped me.
Yeah.
It's another version. It's the same thing, but it's wearing a different mask.
Yeah. Instead of saying he touched me or he raped me, it's like you're going into a police lineup and you're saying it's him.
Right.
Or it's her.
Yeah, and that's so common.
Yeah.
That I even had an experience where a chain was snatched from me in high school. And I will never forget looking at a lineup and swearing. I'm like, I think it's him. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that looks like him. It happened so quickly. And I think one of the things that we also don't speak about enough is you can't trust your memory. Memory is a funny thing, especially in a traumatic experience. And I was like, but they were just pushing and pressuring me to choose somebody. I'm like, yeah.
That's subjective
17 years old. And then I got a call the next day. That person is already incarcerated, so it could not have been him. And I was like,
right.
What if he wasn't incarcerated?
Right.
What would have happened? I will never forget that.
But in that, what I just heard in that experience, right, I heard the suggestiveness, the pushing. That in my situation, there was a woman that they said sat in the room and was showing a photo array. They claimed that she had a reaction. They claim they covered that photograph up. They claim that they asked her, well, view the rest of the photographs. They said she pointed to another photograph and identified that photograph. It wasn't me, but they left out of the room, went and got into the police officer's car, who was essentially her uncle and his partner. They both was involved in the corruption, had a conversation, came back and identified my photograph. Right. But it wasn't really asked, why did you have if she made an identification, why did you need to ask her if she saw him in the picture, if she made the identification? That was the suggestive part of it. But no one ever questioned that.
This happens all the time.
All the time.
This happens all the time. And at 17 years old, I was naive as well. I was thinking, oh, they really want to take care of this. They really want to catch the guy who robbed me. No, that wasn't the case at all. We talked about the little things that people who have never been incarcerated, they don't understand or they don't know about. And I do remember when my family member was incarcerated and we would talk about food, he would tell me how creative he had to be when it came to food. He became this chef because you had to figure out scraps and how to turn those scraps into something, but obviously low nutritional value. I heard, he told me the water was horrible, the soap was horrible, all the products were horrible, and his skin was falling apart, his digestive system was falling apart. So many things with his health was falling apart because of the lack of quality of the resources and things provided for people incarcerated. What was that like for you in terms of access to food, products, clothing?
Yeah.
Books?
So in terms of food, it's you have the food that they serve you and the food that you can get creative and make out of the canteen. when it comes to the food that they serve you, like it's trash. I'm saying, like I have clear memory of getting what was supposed to be a baked potato, right? But in that baked potato, you're either gonna find a rock in there while you're eating it, right? Or there was this baked potato, and
what do you mean rock?
Like a rock, like
a rock from the ground outside?
Yeah, like there was people that have broken their teeth because they like ate a rock in the potato and it broke their tooth. But like another thing with the baked potato is like there was this like it was like rotten, like this like black little like circles in the potato, and you gotta like, if you're gonna eat it, you gotta like try to scrape that out and get that off the potato in order to eat it. Like, and there are people there that have dignity. Like, I'm not gonna eat this stuff. And so that would require us to get creative in terms of what was provided in the canteen, and so we would use maybe some of the food that was served in the chow hall. You would smuggle it back because you couldn't take it back. You would smuggle it back and try to use that and combine that with some food that might have been sold in the canteen, like chili beans in a pouch, which is high in sodium.
Right. Or that's another thing.
Yeah, or like the bag rice where you just gotta add the water to. But here goes the kicker: is that anything that you had to add water to, the water would need to be a certain temperature, and the water out of that sink never got to that temperature, right?
My gosh!
So you would use sink water, right, to try to warm up rice, right? That doesn't work.
It doesn't quite get.
It doesn't work, no matter how long. Like, that doesn't work. So, what we typically did is we created things called like stingers, which were heating devices, right? Which you would heat water up in order to heat up the
product.
But that required you to break the rule, because if you got caught with a stinger, then you would get a disciplinary report, or depending on the CO, you can be taken to the hole, right? But you're giving me things that I need to heat in my food.
Would you say this experience caused you to build a new you, or would you say you are still you but with stronger insight?
Like, I would say that this experience introduced me to a new me. Like, I'm not the same person that I was before I went in there. Mm-hmm. And while I was in there, if I would have allowed the oppression to take hold, then it would have caused me to become like somebody else. But, I went in there and, I associated with good people in there. We tend to think that people in prison are all throwaways, and there is no good people in there. But there's people in there, like I said, when I was at my lowest point, when I was in my vulnerability, I went to my brother Fuquan. I'm like, yo, bro, like, they said that my mom was going to transition, and he did everything in his power to make sure that I was okay. There was people that was there for me when my nephew died. He died from a suicide by playing Russian roulette. But it's just, there was people there for me when I was at my lowest points and needed somebody to lean on. And then I was there for other people. Mm-hmm. And those weren't necessarily the common occurrences, but they're not necessarily the most rare occurrences neither. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. A lot has happened, which I think comes with a lot of learning. What would you share with people that you've learned about the justice system that, if you've never been in it, you just will not know? What's something that you've learned and you're like,
yeah,
y'all won't believe this?
The justice system isn't just. That's why I call it the criminal legal system, right? Because it isn't necessarily just like the legal part of it. You gotta, like, you're gonna be lucky if you get that. You're gonna be lucky if you get that. You know, it isn't there to kind of help better the person. You know what I'm saying? You say the Department of Corrections, and you think about, well, yeah, they want programs to help you and rehabilitate you and all of that. That isn't really what the criminal legal system is about. That's
criminal legal system.
Yeah, that isn't about what they promote and advocate. It isn't about the rehabilitation. The rehabilitation comes from within you, right? If you want to pour into yourself, then the opportunity and the time is there, obviously, for you to pour into yourself. But the programming and all that, like that isn't based on what I've seen. That isn't like the prison's not going to make you a better person. It's you that's going to make you a better person, and your support system is going to make you a better person. But we as a society has to reimagine the criminal legal system and really what we expect it to produce, right? Because when you incarcerate people, right, for decades on end, without giving them the resources to better themselves, and then one day you open the door and then they return back into society, they're not equipped, and then we wonder why the recidivism rates are so high, right? Yeah. And then we blame the person who's caught in a cycle, right? But we never talk about the people who are in authority over the conditions that create the cycle. And
are very well aware of how this is going to play out.
One perfect example is that, so during my incarceration, right? During my wrongful conviction, like there was, like I was at MCI Walpole for 4.5 years. Then I went to the Supermax, Susan Baranowski Correctional Center. I was there for 9 years. And then I went to Norfolk for 9 years, right? If the superintendents of each institution should be held accountable for my behavior within that institution, and more so when I come back out. Because I'm saying, if I come out after being in your custody, carrying control for nearly 22 years, and I'm not right, you're as negligent as any parent, right? Where the Department of Child and Custody Services would get involved. Why isn't the governor or the mayor? Here is the mayor or the governor that's overlooking that department. Why ain't they getting held to task by the failure of the people that they're producing out of these institutions?
That's a great point.
You know,
that's a great one. I wonder how people will react to you saying something like that. And to be honest, that isn't 100% me. Like I said, I associated with many good people when I was in prison. One of them I spoke about was Allah Fuquan, Ricky McGee. He served 28 years and he recently came home. Another one was Darrell Jones, right? He served more time. I think he served over 3 decades. And he was one of the individuals that came out blatantly and said that superintendents should be held accountable for people who leave their facility and go out and reoffend. There was a homicide that happened in Boston called the Mattapan Massacre. And it was around that time more so that he said that, because one of the people that was involved in that, or was said to be involved in that, had recently got out from the custody of one of the jails within the Department of Correction and reoffended. So they was looking at him. Yeah, look at him. But why not look at where he just came from and who was in charge of that environment? Can you imagine what the world would look like? Yes. Can you imagine what it would look like with that level of accountability? We wouldn't have jails. Right. Because why are we creating this business to lose profits? And that's the opposite word, profits. That's insane. And listen, I have a very structured relationship with TV. Like, if you see me binge watching anything, you know I'm stressed out. So Netflix kept telling me, watch this documentary, you're gonna love it. And I'm like, I'm not watching that because it looks like it's gonna stress me out. It looks like it's going to hurt my feelings. I don't want to watch anything that's gonna have me triggered. But I don't know if you use Netflix, but it will keep pushing. And I'm like, you know what? Let me watch it. Listen, I had a doctor's appointment and it was the final episode, and I was like, I have to go to the doctor? Oh my gosh. I'm in the doctor's office on my phone watching it in the waiting room because...
Trial 4?
Yes.
Okay.
I could not wait to get home to find out what was happening because I was so invested and also very emotional and hurt. Not just for you, but also for all of the people this has happened to and for the people that it's going to happen to. It's not an easy story to indulge. It's gripping. You will be touched. I'm curious to know what it was like for you watching that. Wow.
Wow. That's a good question. It's a deep question. It wasn't good. I lived that. I lived that. And what comes with living that is the emotions. The emotions, the memory, like how you feel through that, right? And so when I was watching it, I was reliving it, like the feelings, the fear, and then now you take that and then you add but then to see it and what you went through, but to see it and society knows, but all right, at this point,
all the details,
the details, yes,
will never be,
so there's one episode that I was watching, and I remember them giving a press conference, and I remember them saying, we have no suspects and things of that nature, right? But I know at the time that they're giving that press conference, they have several suspects.
Really? I think there were multiple things that they said that I knew were lies.
Yes. But
they were lying on TV.
But it's to see, to see them literally just lying to the public.
Is it angering, infuriating,
all that,
frustrating?
All that, and it's scary. It's scary. They can snatch you and lie to the public, and they believe it, and because their voice is louder, their resources are more. And
they're also
and rarely so keep it in modern day time, right? It's like when I look at the current administration and what's going on with this so-called immigration movement, and the fact that they're just snatching people off the street. The fact that they're just snatching people off the street, right, and just taking them, right? It's when I say that, that's what I'm talking about. They can just snatch you and just do whatever, say whatever, and it's scary. So as I'm watching it, it's like I'm reliving what happened.
Yeah.
And so I was laid in the bed, and my wife was there, and she was just trying to bring me comfort, but it was a lot like the first time I watched that.
Did you watch it again?
Somewhat, yeah.
Did you when I hear somewhat, I feel like you're going back to certain parts, what they said, that's not true. This is a lot, but I think that, I don't know if this is a good thing to say. It feels to me like, even though you've carried so much.
Was it pain and a purpose thing?
Yeah.
What were you going to say? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I want to hear you.
Family, right? I was 19 years old when they kidnapped me from my community and took me away from my family. Like I said, I lost so much. Pain and the purpose, like we can say that, but like I had to fight for my life. Like I had to fight for my life. They sentenced me to die in prison for a crime I didn't commit. And if I didn't fight for my life, I was going to die in prison alone by myself. You know what I mean? And like, I got a stepson. You know what I mean? Like there's other young people that I encounter. Like I have an obligation to make sure that like this sort of things are not happening. And so when I think about pain and purpose, it's like we have to disrupt the injustices that are happening within our criminal legal system. Because if we don't disrupt them, then the people that it affects are going to become more, right? Like right now, it affected me and my family. But the more families that it affects and that it's allowed to get away with, it's going to continue to grow, right? And right now, the numbers are, say, 7 out of every 10 black men are going to be affected by, wrongful convictions, right? But that doesn't mean that white folks aren't being affected too, right? Yeah. But once that 7 out of every 10 goes to 14, 21. Right? 21, that means that more white folks are going to be affected as well, right? And so it would behoove us to correct the injustices within the criminal legal system and re-envision it. Like, all right, what do we hope to produce out? Like the person coming out, what type of person do we want to come out, right? And so currently, the current iteration of it, right, is more punitive, right? But if we begin to address trauma and mental health issues of the people who are in prison, right, we have a greater chance of producing more healed and productive people back out in society who have served time. Yeah, that's not a model that's currently demonstrated throughout the United States, not. But it's something that people in prison are trying to pour into one another.
They are, but it goes back to what we were saying before. This is not about, you'll see the police cars in New York, protect and serve. And you're like, I don't feel protected. I don't feel served.
Because they're not there to protect and serve you.
So I don't see how, I like that you use the word disrupt. But if this is a business model, and greed is the driving force behind capitalism in this country, I don't even know what to say. What do we do? It feels like a mountain that you just climb for life.
So greed is fueling things. Then like we re-envision the model. Like it can't be a capitalistic model for us. That model doesn't work for us. It never has worked for us, right? When you go back historically and like...
It's not effective.
For us, it's not effective.
It's not effective.
For us, it's not effective, right? And so, like, what do? Like, I remember when I was younger, the feeling in my community was more communal. I lived in the projects, right? I grew up in the housing development. I miss that. Yeah, and it felt communal. And what do I mean by it felt communal? There was times that we might have run out of sugar. My mom might have run out of a stick of butter. Right?
Always got a babysitter.
She would send us to our neighbor in our apartment building, and we lived on a 3-story building. Yeah. She was, go down to the second floor and ask Yvonne if she got a extra stick of butter. But it's like we did for one another. We were there for one another, right? Yeah. And we need to get back to that in order to, be and survive.
But I think if we are talking about how people are impacted by the system and there's a strategic and intentional way of breaking these families apart, that needs to be a huge part of the conversation. Like, guys, this is what's happening. And this is we're not getting together just so we can get together. We're getting together with a purpose. And the purpose is we are disrupting that influx of people coming in and kidnapping us. Kidnapping is absolutely the correct term. I'm curious to know, a part of your story that people have a misconception about, maybe based on the documentary? Is there something about your story that people are getting wrong that you would just like to speak on? Or maybe misunderstanding who you are?
I'm not necessarily sure how to answer that, but in terms of the documentary and like who I am, like that isn't like the documentary is like that's a time.
And it's brief.
But more than that, right? There's more things that happen in the documentary. You know what I'm saying? That, but it's since the documentary, I've gone on to be fully exonerated. Like the documentary covers a time where I was exonerated for the murder and robbery charge. But after that, I went on to be exonerated.
There's more to the story.
Yeah, of the robbery. But also, you know, I've gone on to develop my own program within the Nola Ro Experience project called the Exoneration Network, where we're providing reentry services for people who suffer the trauma of long-term incarceration in their family, because we come from the position that, yeah, the person that's directly impacted was the one that was locked away during the time, right? But their family was also enduring an experience out here on the street while they was away.
Absolutely.
And so in order to kind of heal that cycle or to heal that unit, you can't just deal with the person. You have to deal with all of that's been impacted.
It's an ecosystem.
And so we're trying to provide services to them too in order to heal the family and thus heal the community.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And obviously missed for a long time. But as we move forward and we learn more and we're more educated, people like yourself and other people who are thinking creatively can continue to, I don't like to use the word struggle, but for lack of a better word in this moment, contribute in a way to this struggle. Do you feel like justice was served in your case? I mean, I spent nearly 22 years of my life in prison for a crime I didn't commit. Like, I can't, like, I ended up, I guess, getting justice. But I can't say that justice was served, because if it was served, then I would have never been in there. Like I said, I done lost like so many people. I done lost so many experiences. I done lost like the opportunity to grow in a natural, organic sort of way. I had to grow in an unnatural, unhuman sort of environment. So I can't say that justice was served. I feel that. I understand that, because I think there's somebody out there saying, well, here we are. You're no longer inside, so this is justice. But I think served is when it's served, like given to you.
Say that.
Not fought for.
Like a plate of food. Like you serving my food, right, when it's done.
Right.
Nice and hot.
There's a difference.
Saying, like I got wrongfully arrested in 93. I was wrongfully convicted in 95. That's like, that was when it was served. It wasn't served in 2015. That's after I fought for it.
Absolutely.
Like you said.
Absolutely. And I definitely want to make that part, drive that part home. But curious to know your first night at home. Because I feel like the daytime, I'm guessing here, you're seeing all your people, the excitement, the energy. But then at night, this is the quiet.
Yeah. I just remember laying in bed just like in disbelief somewhat. You know, I had gone out to eat, you know, with my family. And I was staying at the time with my mother's pastor, because they couldn't find me housing, because nobody wanted to kind of give me housing because I was accused of the murder of a police officer. And so I was staying with my mother's pastor, and him and his wife had given up their room to me, and I was sitting there and, you know, just kind of just taking the day in. Did
you sleep, or were you up all night?
I was up the majority of the night. Yeah. I broke night and seen the sun.
And you probably had the best sleep the next morning, yes or no? No?
It was a while until I was able to sleep.
Really?
Yeah, it was a while. Like, I was sleeping in a certain setting, and so
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so like like I was at an institution where the doors didn't lock, like the cell doors didn't lock.
Did you need your doors to be open for a while?
Not necessarily open, but the sound, I needed to orientate myself to the sound of my environment. Because I needed to be able to pick up on when to wake myself up if the sound of the environment didn't sound right. Like, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I know. Can I tell you a random weird story? So I'm just trying to draw a parallel to like really drive it home that I maybe understand what you're saying. I have an alarm clock that simulates the sun because I don't want to wake up to a sound that it feels traumatizing to me. And I tried the bird chirping option. I was like, I don't know if birds chirping is going to wake me up, but let me try it. And it worked. It simulates the sun, so your body adjusts to the circadian rhythm. And hearing the birds, I woke up feeling so good. Every day I'm like, this is great. Do you know, before my alarm comes on, when the birds are chirping outside, they wake me up. And now I think that's the alarm. Yes. And I'm like, I can't hear birds the same way anymore. They're making me wake up all through the night. I'm wondering if maybe that's something that,
so you know, it's very similar.
Your brain changes, your psyche is completely different immediately.
Yeah. So if you think about silence, if you think about just sitting in silence, and then you might hear the sound of the AC come on, right? That's the sound. You might hear the sound of a machine motor run, and that's the sound, right? But that sound becomes the sound of your sleeping pattern.
Right.
And if there's anything outside of the air conditioning motor coming on or whatever
exactly.
then that's
your brain automatically links the relationship to those.
I remember one night while I was at Norfolk. It was one morning, actually. I was sleeping, and I guess I was scheduled to go to the hospital the next day, but the night before, the CEO didn't tell me. But I remember he came, and he didn't knock on the door. He turned the doorknob, and as soon as he turned the doorknob, I jumped on the bed. Like, I jumped up, and was like, what's up? Because I thought it was somebody coming into the cell. But it was triggered by him just turning the doorknob. And I was sleeping. I wasn't just nodding off. Like, I was in a deep sleep, but I heard him turn the doorknob. It's that sort of being able to pick up that even when you're sleeping.
Being hyper aware, but in a way of security.
Hyper vigilant. And so now, like, we don't need to get into this conversation, right? But that degree of hyper vigilance, right? And we think about trauma, right? And so for nearly 22 years, I'm operating like up in this upper echelon of things, right?
Yeah.
But this is the norm.
Right.
Like,
nervous system fried.
Right. My nervous system is baked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's part of why we do the work that we do at the Exoneration Network.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit because I'm curious about things that were happening in the world that you had to learn because they did not exist before you went in. I don't know if that was cell phone, if that was like, what were the things that you came home to that you were like, what the hell are y'all doing out here?
I'm going to keep it real simple. And it happened even when I was in there. I was trying to organize my family to help advocate for me and on my behalf. And like, I wasn't tapped into the world. And so when I started to inquire about things in the world, I learned about this thing called MySpace.
Stop it. What?
Right? Yeah. This thing called MySpace. And I'm like, what's MySpace? Right? I had no understanding what that was. But that question led to well, it's on the internet.
What's the internet?
And
Don't
I
say
said,
what's the internet.
what's the internet?
No, you did not.
And then somebody said, it's this right here. And I'm like, well,
what?
I'm like, what do you mean it's this right here? They said the internet is in the air. And I couldn't fathom it.
Okay.
So I couldn't use MySpace to help advocate because I couldn't understand the internet and that's
like, how is all this happening? I don't see a physical piece of paper. Yeah,
I need boots on the ground. People I couldn't get with that. And like I couldn't conceive. And then when I came home, as soon as I was let out of the holding cell in the courthouse and brought down to get ready to go into court, my younger sister threw me a cell phone. And well, at the time it was like a small black box sort of thing, 'cause I didn't know it was a cell phone. But I seen the screen, and the screen was black. There was no buttons. I'm like, what is this? The iPhone. It was a Samsung, as a matter of fact.
Okay, Samsung.
I'm like, what? Those buttons on the side. I'm like, but like, what is this? How do you turn it on? Like, I didn't know how to use it. Laptop, didn't know how to use it. None of that. Like I was way behind.
What would you tell somebody who is struggling with being on trial, not just in the court system?
Learn the language. Learn the language.
It sounds like you're saying struggling is a lack of education. Like, it's a lack of you not knowing the terrain.
So I can't say that had I been educated, what they did to me would not have happened, because they railroaded me, but I'd have been able to put up a hell of a more fight. Wow. I was young, uneducated, naive, like didn't really know how to advocate for myself. I was scared. And so I'm saying, it's like, nah, like the second go around, I was a grown ass man. So, and I was educated, you know what I'm saying? So it was a different type of situation.
Learn the language.
Learn the language.
If you're struggling in your relationship, learn the language. Yeah. You're struggling at work. Okay. Have you mastered forgiveness?
No. I've mastered trying to heal myself. No, I'm not even saying mastered. I'm working on mastering trying to heal myself. Forgiveness to me is a process that I'm in. I haven't completed.
Absolutely. People always say, forgive. But I don't think forgiveness is something that you decide that it's happening and it happens. I think you have to learn how to do it. I always say that. Like, how do I do it? Because I'm still mad at them.
I seen this piece of paper. I seen it somewhere in prison. I won't say it's a piece of paper, but I seen it somewhere in prison back when I was at Walpole, which is when I first started serving a sentence at. And it stayed with me throughout to this very day. And it says, forgive but never forget. Mm-hmm. And I stand on that.
That's how you make sure that dog doesn't bite you again.
Right.
I love that. Okay. So I have a question. Did you know that more than half of wrongful convictions involve misconduct by police or prosecutors, and nearly half of those exonerated are Black men? Sean's story isn't a fluke. It's a reflection of a system that needs reformation, compassion, and accountability. I have a question. If life ever, and this is for the audience, all right? If life ever put you on trial, not in a courtroom, but in your relationship, your community, or your career, what's one thing you wish people understood before judging you? You can email me your answer at talkwithnola@gmail.com. That's talkwithnola@gmail.com. And we are about to jump into our next segment, the SOA Q&A.
If the world took away one message from your life's work, what would it be and why?
Definitely the work that I do with mental health. I feel like your mental health, whether it's an illness or cognitive issue, whatever it is, it's usually the core of why we make decisions the way that we do. And we jump over that and we skip that a lot. Even stories that I've told about my grandparents. So that's another conversation entirely, but definitely takeaway that we need to envision a world where people are mentally healthy first.
What vision are you pursuing that scares you, and why are you committed to it anyway?
I'm not sure about the scare me part, but like the vision for me is to continue to disrupt this criminal legal system. For me, it has to be that way because, even though I've come through it, there are people that's the same age and younger. I have a stepson that I have to be thinking about as I continue to get older and as I continue to do this work. And if I don't do it, then who do I know that's gonna do it? So the responsibility is mine, and who joins in that process, joins in the process. The more the merrier.
What would the version of you 5 years ago be the most proud of you today for, and what would surprise them?
That I have finally solidified those boundaries with my family. Sorry, family. But that needed to happen sooner, but it happened. And people are acclimating to this new world and actually starting to create their own boundaries. Proud of y'all for that.
What's a truth about yourself that you had to unlearn in order to grow?
Oof.
A truth about myself that I had to unlearn in order to grow. That's a great question, and I would say that I'm super tough. That I'm super tough, and I got that lesson from my wife, because I truly feel that she out-toughed me in order to help me start healing.
Oh,
I came home with a lot of that jail on me. And it's like she had to chisel through all that, which took a lot, required a lot, but she got through it. And so now the version of myself that I am today, I contributed to a lot of pouring in that she did.
That is so good. Wow. Okay. So let's jump into today's happy habit. What's a habit that you either do daily or periodically that brings you joy? And the reason why I like to talk about this is because people have this idea that if you're not having these extravagant experiences that you're not happy, but happiness is constantly happening. It's tiny little things that we overlook and we fool ourselves into thinking we are not happy. Mm-hmm. So
no, thank you for that question. And like at first I'm like, wow, like I just work and then I'm with family and all that. But I think a happy habit for me, and I don't really have a lot of happy experience, so to speak, right? But a happy habit is being near water.
Ooh.
Like being near water. I can be just near a beach here in water. I can be in the middle of the ocean on a cruise, but just being near water is like a happy
That's
habit.
one of mine too.
Yeah.
We're water people.
Yeah, water signs.
Yeah, I love that. I love that for you. But it sounds like grounding.
Yes.
It sounds like calming,
yes.
Which is the opposite of the core of all of the issues we've been discussing. So I love that you have something that offsets that. Mm-hmm. I definitely want to get into your movement, Wounded But Not Broken. Please tell people what that is, and please tell them where they can find you and connect with you.
Yeah, so for me, Wounded But Not Broken is like the spirit. It's a spirit that held me through what I went through. Mm-hmm. I won't say behind. It's the spirit that held me through. Right. And my experience was the wrongful conviction. But we all have our own experiences. Some people have experienced sexual assault. Some people have experienced bouts with like cancer or like terminal, or not terminal, but like illnesses. Mm-hmm. But it's like the spirit that enables you to get through what it is that you're going through, right? And it's Wounded But Not Broken, WBNB. And it's a movement. Right. And so it's like when you see somebody that had this merch on, right, that WBNB, Wounded But Not Broken, it's like being able to identify that you are my spirit kindred, right?
We see each other.
Yeah, we see each other. Like we've been through some things, we're going through some things, but we refuse to be broken.
Yeah, we're still here breathing.
And that's that sort of thing. And, I have a website that's in the process, but you can find it at SeanKEllis.com.
Okay, beautiful. Anything else that you would like to share? Social media, anything else of that sort?
The social media handles are the same. I am Sean K. Ellis on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I am Sean K. Ellis.
Beautiful. Beautiful. On behalf of myself and the team, we are very proud of you.
Thank you.
We are very proud of you.
Thank you.
And thank you for what you do.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
And thank you for the platform, the vibe, on the show, on the podcast is extremely high. And so thank you for the work that you do as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I am so grateful that you guys have tuned in again, and I hope that there's something that you can take away from this story, a life experience that helps you grow. Love you guys. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Nola Ro Experience Podcast. Created and hosted by Nola Ro. Produced by Take Action Media. Theme song by Mr. Melee. Sponsored by The Hills Restaurant, Brooklyn, New York. Listen to us on all podcast platforms and follow us on social media at the Nola Ro Experience Podcast. Visit the Nola Ro Experience Podcast.com and connect with us via email at talkwithnola@gmail.com.